Good morning. I'm Richard Miller, and this is Never Not Here from Australia. And there's so many different spaces in this continent, in the world, of course. And these spaces, one thing about them is they all have a feeling. There's a felt sense to them. And we kind of aim for these felt sense spaces and look for deep ones. And somehow we say that that's more life. We're living more intensely when we feel who we are and feel others around us. And so today we're at the Shiva School of Meditation and Yoga, or School of Yoga and Meditation with Swami Shankarananda. So welcome.
Hi, I'm Richard. Welcome you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm saying welcome to Chicago, and you're saying welcome to Melbourne, right? And
right.
I deeply feel your welcome. I feel your welcome through everybody because they're all reflecting your joy and your availability. Everyone's available here.
My guru always emphasized the welcome. That's Swami Muktananda. And he used to say at the beginning of every program, Sabko Barasanmani Kesat Prem Se Rudik Swagat, which means with great respect and love, I welcome you all with all my heart. And I always felt that was the cornerstone of what he taught, that you can talk about many complex techniques and philosophies, but the heart-to-heart welcome is the essence of it. So I think that might be reflected here. And certainly it's the highest spiritual path that I've found. So welcome.
Thank you. Sometimes we think welcoming is doing something. We're doing welcoming now. And then maybe sometimes we're lucky enough to notice that when everything else falls away, all that is left is welcome.
Well, that's true. The yogis always say that the path is more about divesting ourselves of our ignorance and our stupidity and not finding anything new, that is already there. The purity of the self is already there. It's always existent, but we've overlaid it with all these tendencies and some scars and negative emotions and neuroses. All we have to do is let that stuff go, and what will be there will be pure gold. That's the gold of the self. So I agree with you on that.
I do think it's important to refine our language or keep that in mind, that we're not really creating anything or chasing anything, that we're actually just kind of sitting to see what are these things that are covering this essence, it must be the collective, right? I mean, I didn't invent all this stuff.
Well, culture carries it, our parents carry it, but it's also, I think, karmic patterns that we carry from life to life.
It's collective, right?
Collective, yeah. It's unexplainable, really. In Vedanta, they say Maya, or the principle of the illusion, can't be explained. So I think that's definitive. It's a given. It's a given, and thank heavens that the sages are here to say that there's something behind the given. Then we can find it. But somehow we have this predicament, this condition, this difficulty that's called human life.
Somehow I see it almost as the other way around, that the explanation is the Maya. That is the explanation, right? And then when the explanation falls away, the Maya
in some sense
turns into an illusion.
But, you could say that the explanation is the medicine. For every disease, you need an equal and opposite medicine. And so the yoga becomes a medicine, but at the end of it, you throw the medicine away, and there's no disease and there's no condition. But, we have to have some tolerance for the method.
Right, because what we're doing now called insane planetary life is a method.
It's a method, an unskilled method, the Buddhists would say, that it's a method with no sense, with a lot of selfishness.
Method of madness, right?
Yeah, method of madness. But not the method that is in madness, you know. It's chaotic, it's greedy, it's selfish, it's short-sighted.
Well, life could be chaos, but we just don't want to accept the chaos, right? Life is not ordered. Life is not logical. I mean, logical is the overlay, the explanation. Actually, it is the sickness, right?
Well, there's a difference between logic and order. And I think in a profound way, life is supremely ordered, but with a higher intelligence, not just the rational mind. Rational mind imposes a very limited kind of order, but the divine mind creates an order of such beauty and such enormity and such extraordinary symmetries that it knocks you out when you come in touch with it. That's what in the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna asked Krishna to show him his cosmic self. You know, in the 11th chapter, there's a fantastic encounter, and finally Krishna says, "Oh, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it," and finally Arjuna says, "Please, please," and he says, "Okay, here it is," and he shows him his true self, not the limited personal self, and Arjuna freaks out. He sees everything, the whole catastrophe, the pairs of opposites, the good and the bad, life and death, cruelty and love, everything in one big boiling minestrone. And he finally says, "I can't take it anymore, go back." But I think that's what life is. At the highest level, it's an extraordinary aesthetic, but you have to transcend personhood to experience that.
Last night we worked on the Shiva process. And so it was my first time I won't explain it right now, but I mean, it's pretty brilliant. And I think we were talking about, we called it matrika. Is that?
Yeah.
What is matrika?
Matrika is a concept from Kashmir Shaivism. And you see the word matrika, you can see the word matrix in it. It's a mother. So matrika are considered the unknown mothers. The ka suffix means the unknown. So the unknown mothers of this whole world are our language, the letters of the alphabet. Just like what you were saying, that the whole world is created by language. The way we understand ourselves, the way we communicate with others, we use language to do everything. And there's a whole universe of language right within our own mind. Or these are matrikas that keep coming up in our mind without asking for them. They just keep coming up. So this concept, this tremendous cloud of matrikas we actually live in. And our well-being is dependent on them. When the matrikas run in the right direction, then we have harmony and we are successful and we're happy. When the matrikas go in the wrong direction, we become miserable and contracted. The worst kind of matrikas are what I call tearing thoughts. These are inner matrikas, where thoughts that actually tear into the thinker. Now,
say that word again. Theron?
Tearing, as in tearing.
Oh.
To tear.
Oh, tear.
Yeah, so it's as though an arrow was taken and tore into your own heart. And, you know, no matter what anybody says bad about you, the things you say in your own space, or all of us, it's terrible. We say, "I'm no good, I'm worthless." These are tearing thoughts. "I'm a loser, I'll never get anywhere, you know, I'm less than that person." These are tearing thoughts, and they're the one phenomenon, the inner phenomenon, that most limits us and most makes us miserable. So these are negative matrikas. And, you know, a great athlete is at the moment of triumph. A tearing thought comes in, you can't do it. We're going for a job interview, tearing thoughts come in, we don't give our best. It happens in every phase of life. We continually get defeated by it. And if the tearing thoughts are there strong enough, they become depression. And if you really analyze it closely, a person who's depressed only means that there's a whole lot of tearing thoughts going on in his inner space. So this is a very, very big thing. This is negative matrika. And we have to learn to observe them and then to overcome them and move them in the right direction.
Maybe we can even overcome a thought like I'm no good, but still then we have another thought that has a doubt like I probably can't do that. So it's not much different really. But yet that one is just so subtle. It's just a subtle little teeny weeny doubt,
Yeah.
And we don't really, I'm not suggesting that we should have this thought that I can do everything,
No,
that I'm the son of God or something. But somehow that doubt is still there,
Yeah, well, Shaivism calls it the anavamala, or a primary limiting condition. Shaivism says that we are actually Shiva. If you went deep enough, you would find that you are universal consciousness. But then as we somehow Shiva decided to become individuals, that's us. And the method of becoming individuals is contraction. And the first contraction is called anavamala. So we go through a contraction, we become a limited ego, a separate ego. And the structure of our contraction are these tearing thoughts. Like I can't do, I'm small, I'm weak.
Yeah, well, they're all about neediness. That I'm incomplete, I'm needy.
Of course, because I'm no longer Shiva.
Yeah.
I'm not who I really am, I'm less than, I'm weak, I'm insufficient, I lack joy.
Because like many, even Christians say, you always get what you need, and then trust the existence that you always get what you need. Of course, it doesn't look like what my picture of it is. Okay, like my brother's got Alzheimer's, and February 1st he went into a home, and he's getting what he needs, and we didn't think he is getting what he needs. We thought he needed to be home, and it was heavy duty stuff for my sister, kept him for 3 years. And so then we don't trust that you always get what you need.
Well, we'd like to believe that, from the highest perspective, this whole world is a school where we're learning and growing and trying to become who we really should be. And so when bad things happen to us, it doesn't look like they're good for us. It doesn't look like it's what we need. It looks like the last thing. But we understand that in a higher perspective, we're getting what we need to learn the next lesson or move to the next level. But that is, as you say, it's hard to have that faith.
Yeah, well, getting what you need, I just brought that up because of, when I talk about neediness, and then if you're saying, well, I'm not needy, and then you quote the Bible and all that, and look at the lilies of the field and so on and so on. The birds don't put up, as squirrels do, though, they put up a stockpile.
Well, Shiva process you were mentioning, it starts, the idea of it is to start where you're at, and to just sort of take a stand in where you're at, saying it's okay. I'm a human being. I feel certain needs. I feel certain lives.
Perfect. It's perfect. Like they were saying that, they were saying, oh, I'm having trouble at my work. I don't like my job anymore.
Right.
So you just start where you're at. You don't have to start in some kind of spiritual blah blah.
Because otherwise, the pressure of these contradictions sort of builds up from below. So you go to the worst case scenario. You say, "This is what I am." We call that an A statement. I feel upset. I feel happy. I feel angry. I feel sad. I feel love. Whatever it is, you start there. That's your baseline. It's funny that you said we always get what we need, because this approach came to me in India. I was sitting with my guru, and he was a very powerful yogi, and so he had a force field. You'd sit there, and you'd feel this radiance, and it was very easy to meditate with him. And I was sitting meditating with him, and then I discovered that I was doing my usual trip, which is straining to get to the goal. I want to get to the goal. When will I get there? When will I get there? When will I attain this goal? And suddenly it was almost like a voice spoke to me. It's like the Shakti, the energy, gave me a teaching. It said, you can't always have the meditation you want, but you will always have the meditation you're having. That's the way it said. Footnote to Mick Jagger, because it's an echo of that song. But you can't have the meditation you want, but you can always have the meditation you're having. I suddenly saw that I had to begin where I am. And so instead of sitting down saying, oh, I'm not there, my mind's agitated, I feel bad, and why can't I get to peace? I just start and be, okay, here I am. I'm agitated. I feel bad. And go deeper into what is. Oh, where's that feeling of agitation? Oh, it's in my navel area. What's it about? Let me examine that. What's it saying to me? Is there something underneath that? Oh, now it flips up to my heart area. What's going on in the heart? Is there some memory there, some thought? What is it trying to tell me? And then soon I was having shifts and movements inside. Extraordinary. That's where the Shiva process began. It's the
Beautiful.
approach to, begin where you are.
In a way, it was just delivered to you.
It was delivered, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
So matrika, we're saying it's in a way some statement which might be self-serving or life-affirming, and it might be life-negating or self-defeating.
The little mothers are these little letters of the alphabet that keep forming different words and thoughts, and they carry emotion.
Yeah.
And they sometimes carry expansive, beautiful emotion, divine emotion, and sometimes horrible, negative, contracted emotion.
Something, I don't know, I think it was Marshall McLuhan was saying something about
one of my
the
60s,
Greek alphabet, right? And those little letters were the wolf's teeth or something like that, right?
You know what? He was one of my heroes in the 60s. And one of my old friends became a PhD student of his. And I was just in New York, and he came to me, told me about this, Cadman and the alphabet. He told me exactly, and I was talking about matrika. We had the same conversation.
How far out?
Amazing.
He's been my hero. He was my hero every decade. I'd pick that little book up again and read it a decade later, and I'd say, this is the third decade I've read it, and it's still right on. I can't believe it.
He was 30, 40 years ahead of his time.
Oh, really, really, really? Yeah.
I'm sure he's reborn here in this community. So.
Oh, yeah. So then a lot of time a matrika is, we don't believe it's something we're saying. We believe that's the way it is. Now, I'll give this example. I gave it last night in the group. I would say, okay, we think that the Aborigines are maligned people. But then we might think, but they have a lot of anger, so then that creates this life for them. And so then that's kind of like our separation mechanism. We say, well, that's the way it is. They have a lot of anger, so then, of course, they get this negative feedback.
Well, there are cultural matrikas, there's like thought forms in the culture that they hang there in space, and it's the way people think, conventional ways. And, we know that culture is essentially diluted. If you look back 300 years at the belief that people had 300 years ago, it seems pretty laughable now. And so it stands to reason that the beliefs that our culture holds now are probably pretty laughable from some more advanced perspective. So these thought forms are around us. So to free ourselves from cultural thought forms, and then there's the family thought forms, and then your own personal thought forms based on your personal experience, you really need to meditate. You really need to go inside and disengage from that and find a deeper place. Then you start to expose all these matrikas. And you can select then the ones that are good for you and the ones that are bad for you. Because otherwise, we're not choosing. They're just automatically there. And so we're living a life as an effect of other causes. We're not living from source. So that's why meditation is the essential ingredient in all this.
Well,
and self-inquiry.
Can we really ever, is there such a thing as no matrika? We're always living a life of effect, right? And then if we have some kind of a touch, we're in some touch. Let's see. Let's make a hypothesis that a long time ago, man was a primitive being and it only had a few words. So then, in the animal nature too, they don't have matrika, they don't have really words. So then how come they're still having a life?
Well, they have instinctive movements. They're pre-matrika matrikas. They have
pre-matrika.
Yeah,
I like
something.
that.
Well, they understand threat and good and their owner and there are a lot of things.
Food. They know who to chase.
They know a lot of things, and they live in a lot of fear too.
Is that really fear?
What?
Is animals really have fear?
Yeah, sure they have fear.
Or just attention?
What?
Attentiveness?
No, they can get very afraid.
Well, I know dogs
maybe
and
the
stuff
civilized
can, but
ones.
maybe the civilized ones pick up fear from us.
Could be.
Yeah.
But then they're on the way to evolve, in my estimation. They'll evolve to human form. The human form is unique, you see, because it has the power of matrika. And then we're sort of in the middle. We're, as Alexander Pope said, we're between the angels and the beasts. We're somewhere in the middle. We're neither God nor beast. And so we can decide which way we go. So we're given free will, and we're given this web of matrika, and we can choose which way we go. Do we go upwards towards peace and happiness, or do we indulge the negative flow of it? That's why the human condition is so exciting and so dramatic and so extraordinary and so self-reflective. Fantastic position, but not always pleasant. In fact, mostly not pleasant. Very difficult, very difficult. That's why I can't agree with religions that say that if you don't get it right in one life, you're condemned forever to hell. Because let's face it, this life, this situation, being a human being in a body with various temptations around us, various difficulties, so many things to come to peace with, and our own self-image and our relationships, all these things. How easy is it to solve that problem? Well, it's very difficult. And you can't do that in one go. You have to keep working it.
It
is so hard.
The same thing. It's very, very simple because it just falls away. Bingo. It still gets just this.
You're saying that
bingo, right?
Yeah, after 10,000 lifetimes of,
but who knows? All those 10,000 lifetimes, where the hell are they? In our memory, in some kind of a memory. They're in a thought form, right? And so then all the matrikas are in thought form
Richard,
too, right?
You've lived 10,000 lives to enable you to have these understandings.
Yeah, but I don't even need to know that.
You don't.
I don't need it.
No, you don't.
Right?
Ramana Maharshi realized God in a half hour.
And so he lived 20,000 lifetimes, right?
Oh man, he had a lot of lifetimes before that.
Yeah, well, mostly I was a mosquito, sucking blood and stuff, Those lifetimes go quick.
Yeah, they go quick. Yeah. So. Yes, sir.
Sometimes that kind of explanation just puts us on hold, hangs us on the hook and said, okay, well, if I had to do 10,000, I've got to do 5 more thousand. So then I'll just take it easy.
There's an old story my guru used to tell about, I don't remember the details of it, but there were 2 devotees, and one was kind of angry, and one was a great bhakta. And the Lord came to them both, and they said, how long will it take to attain you? And they told the angry guy, you'll attain me in 3 lifetimes. And he got really angry. 3 lifetimes? I've been working so hard. Why can't I attain you at once? And he was boiling. The other guy said, how many lifetimes will I attain you, Lord? And he said, you see all the leaves on this tree? There must be thousands of them. He said, when you have a lifetime for each leaf on the tree, you'll attain me. And he said, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. And he started to celebrate. I said, why are you so happy? He said, I know I'll attain you.
Yeah.
One day I'll attain you.
Because winter was coming, right? And all the leaves are going to fall off, right?
And winter came and he attained. That's right. We'll rewrite that story. Yeah. So it's true that with the highest understanding, you can just be content. You can be content. My teacher gave me a teaching like that. He said, be content with what you have once, which had a very big impact on me.
Well, let's just show this, Yeah. We'll just say happiness for no reason. So that is content already, right?
That's right.
That's one of your books.
Patanjali says,
I think happiness for no reason is like the key to that's awakening.
Yeah. Patanjali says supreme happiness through contentment. Supreme happiness. So there's a paradox here, because if we look around our life with our mundane eye, a lot to be unhappy with and discontented. Nobody, even the richest, most famous, most powerful person, still has a lot of irritants in his life. You never can get all the ducks in a row so perfectly. So there's that aspect. On the other hand, the great philosophies of consciousness say everything is perfect right now. It's all perfect right now. So how do you hold these two? So you have to seek the perfection within the imperfection. And that's the secret. You don't deny that you're working on things.
No, wait a minute. The imperfection is inside the perfection. It's not.
That's right.
It's not the other way around.
Oh, but our perspective is to find it within the core of the imperfection. The truth is, you're right. The truth is that there's a structure of perfection in which we created imperfection with our little brains.
When it's teeny tiny, little tiny thing.
But it looks awful big when your head's in it. Yeah, it's vast.
I quite love this word matrika, and I think it's a good part of the
word.
discussion, and I've never really had a discussion like this. But.
Well, I'm very impressed because you've nailed my favorite idea in the whole spiritual literature. Matrika is hugely important.
So first we go to a psychoanalysis and stuff, and they try to trade our bad matrikas for a good matrika, and they try to replace a positive thought, right? And then rebuild our life in another way that somehow it's not really going to make us happy. It's just going to fit with society, right?
Yeah. Well, look, give them credit. Every therapy, every yoga, everything is always trying to deal with these matrikas. They're trying. Now, when a sage gives a teaching, it comes from highest matrika. In fact, Shaivism talks about 4 levels of speech. There's the speech that we speak with our mouths and we hear. And even that is a miracle, that I can speak things to you without premeditation, and you can understand them and then throw it back at me. That's a pretty big miracle, isn't it? Miracle of consciousness.
Yeah, I don't have a clue of what I'm going to say.
And I don't know what I'm going to say to you. And bingo, bang.
It comes out,
And there's an understanding that happens.
Yeah. But it does come from, it looks like an old friend, so it comes from some kind of a memory bank or something.
Oh, no, I think it comes from your true nature, which is consciousness. Meeting my true nature, which is consciousness. And we reach out and we affirm that commonality.
Okay, for a long time, all our matrikas are hooked together, see?
Yeah.
Because like we got we live in a web of society, of mortgages, of houses, of rents, of wives, of grandmothers and mothers, of sick people, well people, children, PTAs. And everyone, you pull on one string and all the other strings go frantic, right? And then they get more and more tense, and it feels like if you try to move one thing, something's going to pop somewhere else, right? Yeah. And all these matrikas are really... we become frozen, right?
We just become meditation. That's great stuff. Great. We all live in the Truman Show. We think it's one way, but it's really another way. This web of matrikas telling us one truth and it's hiding from us from a deeper truth. But at some point, when you get lucky, I believe, we get a spiritual awakening. Like, I don't know how yours happened, but you went from this guy to another. You said, oh, there must be more here. The way the Buddha suddenly said, oh, there must be an explanation for this. And at some point in my life, I went, I'm not settling for this. I want something more. And so we know there's another realm. Oh, so I was telling you about the 4 levels. So the next level of matrika is internal, which is your thoughts. These are very powerful. These are inner matrika. The 3rd level is what they call the pashyanti, which is pure intuitive thought. It's like the words don't form, but you intuitively know things. Like, you know what you're going to say in a kind of a formless way before you say it. Then you have a flash of understanding.
They come from different contexts, right? Because the first thoughts kind of come from like a lot of conditioning, and they're triggered by what's here now, right? Like our interface of our conscious contact, like. And then, but the intuitive thoughts come from another kind of a field of stillness, right? They come from like a knowing field or something like that.
And that field of stillness is the highest level of matrika. They call that the para level, which is pure stillness, but conscious stillness, pure consciousness. And in the realm of pure consciousness, all thinking, all thought forms are possible, but they're latent, It's like anything could be thought.
It's just pure potential there, right?
That's right, pure potential.
Yeah. See, because this is new to me, because I wouldn't have said that those others were matrika. I would have just said the first two were matrika, and then the third was already some kind of like
it's beginning of matrika.
Reception.
The intuition is like the beginning of matrika, but the matrika is in the pure self also. It's as potential, because language at that level is not language, but it's meaningfulness or meaning, the possibility of meaning. That's in pure awareness. So it's not like a
oh, wait a minute. Now, what the hell is meaning? Meaning is just like, arbitrary, right? This is just like our sign. We sign, there's a meaning here. Okay, what are we doing here? There's a meaning. Guys are here, guys are there. Someone's going to listen to this. I mean, what meaning? Where does meaning? That's
not different from conscious. You're a conscious being.
It has no meaning.
But it's so mysterious that you're a conscious being.
Right.
You're a conscious being,
right?
Like this glass is unconscious.
How do you know?
Okay, don't go there.
Don't go there, right? Okay, I agree. I agree. How do you know, right?
So, the difference, there you are a conscious being. So, meaningness simply means the capacity of consciousness, which is the ineffable mystery.
Okay, that could be a meaning.
Ineffable
but not
mystery.
Interpretation. I was thinking of meaning as interpretation.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, all possible interpretations.
That's a pure potential.
All cultures, all thoughts, all feelings, all artworks, all novels, all movies, all conditions of cruelty and of love, everything is potential within consciousness. That's the highest level of speech.
And let me just go back then to the web, right? So then, okay, here we are in this web, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then we just freeze, right? And then we freak out, and then maybe go for spiritual seeking, or somehow try to break out, and then somehow in this tightness of this web, we go around and around, like we try to pull one string, and then boom, we're back in the whole thing again and again. And then we start making excuses like when the kids are raised, when I'm retired, then a few of these strings will break, or be undone, and then I'll somehow be free. And then by then our health goes, so then that string is strung out.
There's one other element in this.
Tell me.
Grace. So a bit of light from higher consciousness, beyond these structures, finds its way in.
A crack.
It comes in, and you can grab that or not grab that. And sometimes it comes in so forcefully you have to grab it.
Okay, right.
But
that's it. A tornado can blow all this web away, and you can say like, okay, wow, those are a lot of guys, deaths and accidents and sicknesses.
Death blows all those structures away, at least temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily. Yeah. And then you can say, and then you might be ready, because then you say, well, I can make a move in my life, and all the other webs won't pull me back because they're all gone. See?
Yeah.
And first you have to get over with starting over again. You say, I didn't want to start over again.
Well, some people can't wait to get another web going.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, like every time I divorced, I got married right away.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, great. I love it.
Yeah. So then, for some reason, I seem to be like a lot of my webs are broke, right? And a lot of times we just think, okay, I'm poor, and this thing has a value. Collectors, people that have clutter and all that stuff. And I don't need it anymore, but I can't throw it away because I worked a long time to get this thing. And so then that's another string in the web, But somehow I'm out of my house now, and all that good stuff that I have, my extra computers, my big ones, and all that stuff, my other camera, everything is over there. Okay, great. But somehow we don't have kids. My wife says, "Go be free, go away, get lost." And then, the only thing is I'm broke, but what the heck? That's not new.
Yeah.
And so then I'm starting to live like day by day. Like, I don't know where
When did you begin this path?
Well, I mean, maybe some time ago, but it really kind of hit pretty strong when I got to Australia like 2 months ago.
Oh, really? Australia has that effect.
I don't know. Like you were saying that we can have a cultural matrika, and so
Yeah,
like I'm
that's
here
right.
to see the matrika of Australia.
Yeah,
There's some sore spots, and then there's
yeah,
a lot of vibrancy because there's a lot of health and a lot of sexual energy,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of creativity, and there's
yeah,
a huge amount of beauty that probably people don't even realize
yeah,
how beautiful it is here.
yeah. Oh, it's a very privileged place in a lot of ways. Partly because it's not so thickly in the matrika of the whole world situation as America is. It's a little more isolated, and it's more peaceful in some ways.
So you can stand back and watch the fray,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say,
It's a
oh
little,
boy, I'm glad I'm not over there.
it's a little saner in some ways.
Yeah.
I would say so.
No, I was hit with that just immediately. Like the first day
Yeah,
I hit the road running, and I didn't
yeah,
have jet lag. I didn't have
yeah,
anything. I mean, I just was so loaded with energy
yeah,
and so open and so
yeah,
talking to everybody.
yeah.
And somehow, I don't know, it's a miracle.
Well, you seem like you're getting a lot of grace, and you're a very joyous, creative space right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, grace is always here. All we got to do is be open to it, right? Because how could
That's
grace
true.
just come capriciously?
It can, and that's how grace comes, capriciously.
No, that's just the
It wouldn't
moment we
be
drop the
grace.
wall, right? That's just the moment we drop well, it's a crack. It goes through a
You know, I
crack.
tell you what, fundamentally, you can't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't understand why, and all the kids that were in my high school, that I was selected to walk this path. That I had a certain amount of grace for that. And you can't understand why people get grabbed by it, why some people have awakenings, Kundalini awakenings, and things like that. It's incomprehensible with the rational mind. It just happens.
Just this September, I went to the 50th high school reunion.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Oh my
50th.
God! I never went to another reunion. That was the only one I ever went to.
Every 50 years you should go.
Oh yeah, I go to the 100th then. But it was the
So what
54th for grade school, and there was about 24 of us there for the grade school.
Wait a second, what year is that? 1960 or something?
I don't know. That's 62, I think.
Yeah, okay, 62.
Yeah, so, yeah, because it was 2012, 62. Yeah. So then, no, wait, 61. I guess it was class of 61.
Yeah.
So then a lot of those grade school kids I went to kindergarten with, so that was 63 years. It was totally marvelous. Like, I mean, I tied a bow around my whole life and just tied it off, and I was just in love with everyone.
Sweetheart?
I was too afraid of girls then. I didn't have any sweethearts, I didn't know nothing. No, the one girl that was on my block there was one girl I kind of took a shine to, but she didn't come.
Yeah.
There was, I think, 5 of us on our little block where I grew up, from when I was 2 to when I was, I don't know, not 11.
When you get a certain age, you start seeing in big chunks of time. Time has a different perspective. You think in 20, 30, 40-year chunks. Like I went to India, it's now over 40 years ago. So that's a big chunk of time. Different perspective.
It's amazing how great age is. It's just that is grace right there to live a longer life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am so enjoying my life now compared to however I did it before. And that's got to be beautiful grace.
What were you doing before this?
I was business, and then I was always kind of trying to start something new. So I was always stressed and I was trying to penetrate, I was a classic, like a male, like trying to get in, because I had a new thing, and I was trying to say, hey, market my product. Hey, look at what I can do. Hey, always, feeling like an outsider trying to get in.
Was there an encounter that turned it around?
No, well, that was business. I mean, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, did you meet somebody or have an experience that turned it towards the spirit?
Well, the first one I met, I don't know, it took me a while to actually have a guide, because I was kind of like, I think there's a time when you're really put off by adulation. If somebody is like, well, especially a guru, but I mean, even a teacher the first teacher that I was really shocked by was this Werner Erhard Est.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because all these girls, he had a lot of groupies, and like all these people just worshipped, oh, Werner, It was kind of rough, and then he cleared me in a way that I could actually look at Indian gurus, and then I could be okay with it, so because he didn't clear me like him personally, but just being involved with his organization and getting over it, I got over the fact that people were giving a lot of adulation.
What year did you do Est?
Oh, I think in the early 80s.
He brought Baba to the West. You know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Big connection. I know Werner very well. He was my guest in Ann Arbor, and I met him in India.
How's he doing now? What's he doing?
Well, I only know...
the forum, right? But he's not involved
No,
anymore,
he's not involved. Last I heard, he was in Russia, was it? Is he in Russia? Might be in Russia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he left the forum. That's still going on.
They threw him out, didn't they? They didn't like him, right?
I don't know the exact story.
Yeah, I don't care about it. Yeah.
But he was definitely culturally a breakthrough. He had a very strong relationship with Baba. Muktanand. He came to Ganeshpuri. And,
so then I was able to kind of look squarely at Osho, Rajneesh Bhagwan, and then I was a Bhagwan sannyas, and I wore orange and had a name and the whole works, and wore that mala with his picture on there. And it was, maybe that's part of my overcompensation, because the fact that, I just kind of took it that wearing orange and being out in society like that was, he wanted us to attract energy and attention from other people. And so then I'm always dancing. I'm a dancing monkey now, that I'm always attracting attention. Now, whether that's an overcompensation or just a belief structure that I got from Osho, that that drawing people's attention. In fact, that's the whole Never Not Here, because like I've got 600 movies online, and I'm in every one of them.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I never missed one of my shows, right?
You're embodying Osho's Sankalpa as his wish, yeah.
Yeah, something like that is what's going
when
on.
When I got to India, there were three big gurus that they were talking about. One was Osho, then called Rajneesh.
Yeah, it was Bhagwan Sri
Rajneesh. The other was Satya Sai Baba, and the third was Muktananda Baba. And so I I related
shuffled them around. And
I didn't meet them all, but the one that I was pulled to was my guru, of course, Muktananda. But those were the big three in those days.
Yeah. Well, what can you say about him? I think Rajneesh was just like one that was more chaotic. Like he would build all kinds of stories, and then each one would be against the other, and so then all the stories would just pop, right, sooner or later. But,
well, he's an interesting man. He was a naughty boy, extremely naughty. He was always trying to shock and outrage. And he was always in a fight with his culture or the government or somebody.
Yeah, no kidding. He went for press releases, really good on getting press.
And his method was shocking and so on.
Right, and then that attracts a lot of people, because they think, like, tell it like it is. Come on, Bhagwan, knock those guys for a loop. That hypocrisy's got to go.
Yeah. But I mean, I never met him personally, so I don't have much of an opinion. He's very learned. He read a lot of books, and his writings are like a compendium of spiritual literature in some sense.
Like, I think he talked twice a day, every day for 15 years. They could make 1,000 books out of that stuff.
Yeah. So good. Did you?
So he was in the second, right, or the third? Which mantrika was he doing? He was doing the kind of like the one that just came out of pure space, right? Because he would just rap. He would. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, sure.
But Muktananda had a system, right? And it was not chaotic. It was a very...
He was, I think, had merged with his guru, Bhagwan Nityananda. His statue's here.
Right.
Bhagwan Nityananda was kind of in the thought-free state, in Shambhavi Mudra, or in Bhairavi Mudra. He was a unique being, one like Shirdi Sai Baba. One of these creatures who really lived beyond the mind. And when Baba came to him, he was a very striving yogi, conventional striving yogi, but he got powerful Shaktipat. Bhagwan looked in his eyes and transmitted this energy to him that blew him away, and he had a cosmic experience. It's in his book, Play of Consciousness. You must have read that.
I don't know which one I read, but I remember there's one little book I think Muktananda wrote about Nityananda. Maybe that's the only book about Nityananda.
You got to read Play of Consciousness. Yeah. That's about his spiritual awakening and then his sadhana. So he had this massive Shaktipat, and then he started having physical kriyas and, visionary experience, all kinds of things. And then he attained the goal. And so I always felt with him, even though he was a very colorful character, that everything came from this place of the self, from the highest place. And that words would just sort of bubble up out of that. That's how I felt him. I couldn't see him any different. It was like, it's just what I saw. So he didn't have premeditation about things. I think he just flowed with what happened. And, he more and more people came, and, he got very big by the end. We had, big crowds, and he was in L.A. in 1980, and the 2,000 people a night, and, huge crowds. Then he went back to India, and they had thousands in the ashram there. By that time, he had sent me away and told me go start an ashram and teach. So I was doing that by that time.
So is that hard when you're sent away by your own guru?
Yeah. Well, yes. In a way, I was heartbroken. And then on the other hand, I saw, because he said, whatever you do, I'll be behind you. And I didn't think, he's going to personally be behind me, like he'll write me a check or something. But I felt that he was saying that the body of Shakti will be behind you, the power will be behind you. And so I saw it was much better for me to do what he said and cooperate with it than be in his presence where I would have probably fried to death. It would have been too much. So it's good to surrender and flow. So I did have a personal feeling of heartbreak because I had become addicted to being around him. But then I saw the rewards were much greater.
I wonder if that, that's pretty shocking. Okay, somebody's there and there's such a connection, and it's a love connection too. And there's such a connection,
Yeah.
And then just to throw them out and say, okay, now you've had enough. You're on your own,
That's right. That's right.
And you don't know if all those connections are snipped or if they're just stretched or, exactly. But wouldn't it be better just to come and go and come and go? Like you come in and you tank up and then you go out in society and say, I wonder how portable this is, and just check it out,
Yeah, well, that's a method.
Then, I don't know. That seems to be what I like to do,
It's perfectly valid. It's normal. That's a normal method. My life was different because I went to India, gave up my career. I was an English literature teacher at Indiana University. I gave up my career. I didn't have any name or address. I knew that I was going to meet my master in India.
Not even knowing who it was, right?
Had no idea. But something, because when I met Ramdas, the American yogi, something was transmitted to me where I knew I had to go to India. I'd meet someone.
So you went to his guru, right?
I what?
Ramdas's guru.
I did. I met Ramdas's guru, Nim Karoli Baba. I met a number of great saints.
So then what happened with Neem Karoli Baba? He was more silent, right? Was he living out of the silence?
He was another great being of that level, but I wasn't yet ready to, or karmically I wasn't supposed to be with him. I don't know what it was. He was certainly great. And he was fascinating because he seemed to come from that higher consciousness. But where my head was at then was that he seemed too formless for me. I wanted to learn yoga. I wanted to learn the techniques of yoga. And so I looked at him and I thought, wow, this guy's beautiful. But what do you do about it? What do you do with it? So instead I went to Haridas Baba, who is a very good yogi, still alive, California. And he taught me yoga, pranayama, asanas, a lot of the scriptural stuff. And
mostly in America, we just think of the asanas, right?
Asanas, yeah. We did all kinds of things. We did a lot of pranayama, breathing exercises, 3 or 4 times a day. We did the cleansing, where we put a thing up your nose and pull it out the mouth. And then the best one was swallowing cloth, where you took a bandage about 24 feet long.
And then drag it back out again.
Swallow it and pull it back out. And
yeah. That
cleaned all the mucus and all that stuff. So I did that with him. I lived with him in the winter of 70, 71 up in Hardwar. And I got a lot out of it. But I also knew now I was ready for somebody like Nim Karoli. And that's when I moved on and met Muktananda. And Muktananda also, he was in that state, but his ashram, when I got to his ashram, I was very impressed because it was so orderly. It had like a military discipline, and I thought, this is what I need. Up in the morning, at 3:30 in the morning, bell rings, you're up, you're meditating, you're working, you're chanting, all day long, structured like that. He cracked the whip. It was so fierce. Yeah. And there were no external things. There was no TV or nothing. It was just focusing on yourself. So I went from the 60s, where I was totally involved in the culture. I used to go to the Fillmore East every week. I heard all the bands. I was involved in everything. And I was in graduate school and also teaching. And I went to nothing, like infinite space. Like I could have been in the Vedic ages, thousands of years ago. No input, just the yoga. So
you went to nothing in that structure. In other words, it took the structure that was a really intense structure, right?
Yeah, totally. I was totally a cultural person, I was, very involved in art and thought and, Western stuff. And I went into a time warp where there was nothing except my own matrikas to examine and go deeper. It's an infinite space. It was great. It was the greatest thing. But boy, it was very difficult. Yeah. Everything came up. In that space, everything comes up. You have to deal with all your tendencies, your anger, your desire.
Well, that's what we think about an ashram from the outside. We think that it's a very intense space, and then it's made to break you down, right? Is that true or what? Or that one was? That one was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then we think the way they do it is okay, I was in the Osho thing. My ex-wife was in charge of building the hotel on the ranch out in Oregon.
Yeah.
She had never even picked up a hammer.
Yeah.
She had all these builders working for her, right? And she was the boss.
Well, I can't speak for
Osho.
So
then the builders, the builders were freaking out. Like, well, how am I going to tell this lady how to build a hotel? And so then that's one way to break it down, Like I even heard people around here mention that where's the master plan for this place, We put in all the decorations and then try to put in the foundation. Is that designed to break it down or what?
No, it's organic,
It's just organic, right?
Yeah, sometimes, there's some masters who make you dig a hole and then fill it up.
Oh, yeah.
And Gurdjieff used to do stuff like that.
Okay, good. Thankfully he's dead.
Yeah, but Baba was more practical. But
yeah, he'd dig a hole that he needed, right?
Yeah, hole he needed. That's right. Exactly. So we try to do that here. But this ashram is different. That ashram was in rural India, and you were very far away, and you could focus. And this ashram is in the middle. It's not urban, but it's not in the country, and so people often have jobs and so on that come and go. So it's a different situation, but it's very intense in its own way. Every ashram will be intense, but in unique ways. So we have about 40 people living here. And that ashram, Baba's, it started with about 150, and then by the time he died, there might have been 3,000 or 4,000 living there.
A village, a total village, right?
That's like a village, yeah.
Yeah.
Many, many different situations and things.
So many masters talk about like the ashram grounds, and just when you cross the fence, the energy is a different feel to it, or has a different.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, an ashram of a siddha has a power of some sort. It can be more active, or could be more love power, more illumined power. It can be different kinds of powers, but it's the same one power with its own personality. And yet you also discover that the laws of the universe don't change at the ashram gates, that the same forces are outside too. And then you learn how to take that energy and still be in touch with it when you're out in your normal life also. That's one of the skills that ashramites have to learn.
I mean, that's the most important skill. That's the only reason for it, isn't it? I mean,
Tremendous.
or otherwise, why are we on the earth?
Exactly. If we all had to be in a little pod somewhere, what good would it be? It would be to solve the problem. As Samadhi said, Sahaja Samadhi, which is the natural state. The natural state, not the state with your eyes closed. See, in Shaivism, they have the concept of Atma Vyapti, which is where you know yourself. And that's a great skill, to meditate and know yourself. But that's only half of it. The rest of it is what they called Shiva Vyapti, where you take that self-knowledge and you bring it into the world. Then only can you say you have attained. So first you know yourself, and then you keep that contact with the self while operating in your life, whatever your life is. That is tough. I think all the paths,
But you can't do it by force, you have to just do it by noticing. Somebody just last week told me that no matter what the situation, silence is way louder than any noise or chaos. So then, if silence is way louder, I mean, we're not noticing it, right?
That's true. But sometimes it's time to speak and sometimes it's time to be silent. So to make that call, that's really a high art.
Okay, well, so then I'm saying, and going back to my life, and this notice, and then this story I was telling you about this web, right?
Yep.
And then for some reason my web is pretty broken, and I'm going day by day.
Yep.
And so then, just at the start of this year, I won't go into all the details, but I fell into a really deep silence for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I would see all these images up here, like about Australia and about where I could go or what I could do. And I was thinking, no, it's okay to just go day by day. And so all these images would be fluttering around. And I'd have all the temptation to grab one and start to build a story around it. And grab this one, no, I'll build a story around, oh, here it's the one, I can build a story. And then I said, no, I don't have to. And it's just like you said, the skill is in learning when to speak and when not to speak. So then all these images would want a story, and the story would start to come up and wanted to come out, not only out, but wanted me to act on it, right? And then I'd say, okay. And then it would go back down, right? And then another one would come up, and then it would go down, and I'd say, oh, wow. Stories are coming up and down, And then I started to label the space, I started to say, well, this is pure potential, like anything could happen. One of these stories is going to happen, but I don't know which one, but I'm not going to jump on the first one.
That's great.
And so then I'm just feeling the potential space.
That's real discrimination.
So this is like the third, maybe the third matrika that we were talking about. The one out of the mouth, and the one was on the thoughts. Yeah. And then the third one was kind of like out of this field of intuition, right? And I was just intuiting that I didn't need to pick up a story, at least right away, And I should be discriminating to see what story I'm going to pick up or none, Or can you live just without a story? Something forces its way in, and it takes 5 minutes, right? Or 10 minutes or 2 days. But you don't have to start to build an ashram around it.
That's right. Well, when you listen, somebody once said that there are certain thoughts that have a greater weight, greater gravitas. And those are the ones that are coming out of the silence, out of the third level of speech. And there are a lot of voices in our head, the voice of desire, the voice of fear, the tearing thought voice, all these different voices. And we listen to them, they're here. But sometimes there's a deeper resonance. And if you can catch that, that comes from a deeper place. And that's the guideline. It's just that we don't distinguish those different inner voices. And there are a lot of ways they have a certain feeling to them, have a certain energetic to them. But
the energetic we learned last night, so much of the energetic is just conditioning, because that just comes up, like people said things, and then we were doing the Shiva process, and then that was an energetic, but really it wasn't really any kind of holy energetic, was it?
Well, it's very ordinary.
Very ordinary, right?
But the ordinary is holy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But it's the energy is always shifting, and if you get in tune with it, it will always move you towards the right way. It's that we're out of touch with it.
Yeah,
we
it will move you. Well, someone else said that, okay, you were talking about gravitas, and someone else said, well, all thoughts are actually equal, and because they're all equally weightless, and so then where is that weight? It's just like what we believe, or our matrika attaches to one thought, right? And then that gives it the weight.
Well, I think some thoughts are connected to the ego. Some thoughts are connected to the divine.
So the ego is just the neediness, right? I mean, we don't really have to have an ego,
neediness,
do we? Or do we need an ego?
Insufficiency, yep.
So,
that's
okay.
That's
go ahead.
Well, we use the idea of the G statement as an elevating thought. These are statements that have come from higher consciousness that you can use as ladders to get.
Okay, well, let's go through that a little bit, because we were talking about the A statements is like how I feel now, right?
That's right.
And then there's B statements. What would those be?
Which ones?
Is there B statements?
All right. The first statement is I feel sad, mad, scared, or glad.
Or this energy, I feel
emotion.
I'm turbulent here, or something like that.
Like, say I feel angry, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm angry, and then the story about my anger is because this person was mean to me yesterday, but really, that's just a story. Existentially, anger is here. So really, anger is
here. Well, existentially, just the feeling is here, and I'm going to call it anger, right?
That feeling,
and there's some kind of sensation, and it's turbulent or agitated. And
yes, it's turbulent. I feel agitation. I feel turbulent. That's right. That's the A statement.
And even turbulent just means I don't want it, right? That's just it's just too...
Exactly. You see, you're starting to unpack this feeling. We take the story off it, and all these things, and we're just with it as an energy. And that's a very good method of meditation, is to just stay with it and be with it and go deeper into it. And eventually, of course, it will reveal deeper layers.
Yeah. Well, she was saying last night, our leader was saying that there's two ways to do it. One is with the story and one is without, just as an energy, the Shiva process.
That's right.
So that's the A statements, right? It's like, this is what's happening. I feel this in this chakra.
Okay.
And a B statement is like somebody else suggests that you're capable. Yeah. You are capable of overcoming this.
Yeah, positive. You could say a positive, possibly uplifting remark. Like, you're okay, I'm okay. You're a good person.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, basically it's first person, because they would say, I'm Richard and I'm a good person. And so then I would say, I'm Richard and I'm a good person, and see if that felt right or wrong, or if that gave me a feeling.
Great.
Yeah.
So these are uplifting, possibly uplifting. They're not always work.
Yeah, right. It was just a test.
For that on the personal level. Now the G statement are scriptural statements that come from above, like Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi. I am the self. I am Shiva. I am consciousness. Or Jesus loves me, from different traditions. These are the scriptural statements in all the scriptures that can uplift some people.
Yeah. Well, they all start out as an idea, right? And somehow they got to go to an experience.
Yeah.
And so then if they're an experience or a discovery, God, that's wonderful. That is grace.
Yeah.
But if they're just a thought, then they're just scripture. And then, we keep plugging away at it. But really, where's it going?
Well, if you take the idea, this world is an illusion. When Shankara had that idea, 1,000 years ago, it must have blown him away. He said, this world's an illusion. And he must have put him in that state. So he began to teach, this world's an illusion, this world's an illusion. And 3 of his disciples maybe said, wow. And they got in the state. But 5 others said, it doesn't do anything for me.
500,000 others.
500,000 others, sorry.
3 went good,
Yeah, that's right. So the point I'm saying is that any G statement is good if it works. None of them are God, because then you wouldn't need God. Then you just have the G statement. Here comes God. Everything is an illusion. There's God. It's that statement.
Yeah.
But it's only worked situationally. So you try another one, or you see,
So somehow the core of the human life is a preconception. We call it matrika, but it's a preconception that says, it could be this way.
The limited human life.
Yeah. Right.
That's right.
So the preconception is always looking for a change or to modify something or try, I can fix this. I can fix this. It's kind of like, it could be neediness or whatever, or it could be yearning too, because yearning, we think, oh, I can fix this yearning, right? But it's all a preconception because if there's no preconception, here we're perfect right now without a preconception.
From the past, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So then mostly all of us want like a discontinuity in our life because we don't want to go step by step. We want to blast, right? I mean, just look at the movies because they're all special effects and everything like that. And, and it carries over to our spiritual life. Because we hear the story of these samadhis and these kundalinis experiences and this grace and all that stuff. And that's all the discontinuity, see? And we're all wishing, why can't I be there now? Right? And so then we want a discontinuity. We don't want to just go step by step. You don't even notice, right? Because I mean,
that's really
I don't
even notice. You got those books? I'll show you something in there.
Yeah, show me.
Yeah,
this one
thing. Let's see. Let me see if I can find this for you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna keep talking. I like it.
Okay. So anyhow, then isn't that an illness, and also a spiritual illness that we want to have a blast, and then that takes us out of this life and makes this life into a suffering.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Are you finding it?
I'm going to find this thing.
So then that's what the story of enlightenment is always have this discontinuity, right? And that's what the holy yearning is this discontinuity, right?
I like what you're saying. I'm going to show you something.
So I'm trying to say, it's all just matrika. Drop it.
Here, listen to this.
Forget about awakening. I'm going to listen.
This is from the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Fantastic meditative manual, the ancient one. It says, at the commencement and end of sneeze, in terror, in sorrow, in the condition of a deep sigh, or on the occasion of the flight from the battlefield, during keen curiosity, at the commencement or end of hunger, the state is like that of Brahma. So it's pointing out moments where it blows away that condition, creates that space you've just been talking about. In natural life, you don't do anything. When you sneeze.
Sneezing would be the best, but the battlefield, I guess, is the most potent one.
Yeah, but I love that, because if you ever watch yourself sneeze, you go, and in that moment, if you ever observe what state your mind is in, I started to observe it after reading that. And there's like white light in that moment. The mind stopped. So you can seize that if you wanted to. There's another one very similar. A person, when he's greatly exasperated or overjoyed, or is in impasse reflecting what to do or running for his life. So it's just
on the battlefield, running for his life.
Yeah.
Let's just show this book so that consciousness is everything.
That's my book on Kashmir Shaivism.
Yeah, this book is probably very unique. And, you need to get this one because this one they don't write them like that. Well, what about that, though? Because, ashrams are built around the yen and the yearning for a discontinuity in life and for enlightenment, right? And should ashrams say that, hey, forget it?
Yeah.
And back off of that yearning.
So you have a unique perspective. Most people wouldn't say a yearning for discontinuity of life.
Yeah, they'd say the holy yearning, right?
They look for the fulfillment.
And then God is calling you home in His grace, and they make up all kinds of stories about it.
Yeah, they want the story to be, the prince comes and the good fairy and,
and then
success.
You're brand new, a wand hits you on the head or something.
They don't want the story to be ruptured. They want it to come to But see, you have a unique point of view, and I think you have a real yogic point of view. That is by constantly disrupting the story, you get in touch with it. And that's what inquiry does. That's what meditation does. You get yourself out of this narrative.
Yeah.
And, there's a narrative narrating your life in your brain all the time.
Yeah, it's a matrika that's going on all the time.
The narrator.
Yeah, right. And it's, of course, cultural and everything like that. So then it's just all around.
I can see you love it.
Love what?
You love matrika.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fascinating. It's fascinating.
No, I just heard that word last night.
Fascinating. And you know what else Shaivism says about it?
Tell me.
It says it's a double-bladed axe. It can be used for good or for bad. It's not evil in itself. Some yogis say all language is bad. No. Language can be used for good or bad. And so when you use it skillfully, it uplifts you and uplifts everyone. And when you don't use it skillfully, it throws you down.
That's kind of a mystery, because we get to a certain point in our life and we realize the story of our life is a burden, and is binding us.
Yeah.
But then we tell another story, and somehow that seems to relieve the first story. Now, how could one story be a burden and another one be a freedom? I don't know about that.
It's all the emotion that is cathected in that story, isn't it?
So every story has emotion in it, right?
Absolutely. Every word has emotion.
Yeah.
We live passionately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet in your introduction, you said we live in two worlds simultaneously, and one is like what's happening outside, and one is our thoughts and our emotions. But it's the same, right?
Well,
is it really two worlds, or is it just one?
Well, there's essentially one, but it seems like two worlds. And the inner world's more important.
Right.
That's our experience of life.
Well, that's the author then of our outer world, because you say it's more important. It means it's the author, right?
Correct.
So that's when we talk about happiness for no good reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then if the inner world rules, let it rule with some wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
God, it's so much fun to meet you.
Yeah,
and
it's
to
great.
be in your presence and to be on your grounds where every smiling face is just reflecting that smiling face sitting across from me.
I'm enjoying your take on it. You're like taking like a fish to water or something.
Oh, no kidding. I really am taking
great.
it on. I really
That's
totally thank you for this time.
Fantastic.
And for being available to meet our public and to meet everyone. And I don't know, we could really go into this, I don't know if you answered all my questions. We touched on them.
I think you should contemplate all these things, Yeah,
I know. It's just going to come from the inner guru anyhow, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
The reason you know these things is because they're all in you.
Right.
Yeah.
We say that a lot on Never Not Here. We say that because people will always want me to say, well, there's a tendency where more people are waking up. I say the reason you know that is because you're waking up.
That's right. So to know whether they are waking up or not.
Yeah, and then you see it's all around. It's all around. I don't have to look that far.
It does seem like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shankarananda.
Thank you, Richard. It's wonderful. A unique. I tell you what, I've had a lot of interviews in my life. This one is unique. That's because of where you're coming from.
Well, I felt love all the way along. Like I just, sorry, I'm not over there hugging you.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Look at this. That's great. That's great. Yeah, baby. Very nice.